Okay, well, it's 3:30, so I'm gonna kick everything off. Welcome everyone. I imagine that we will probably have a couple folks wandering in here. Calandra and Rick are coming in. It's great. Okay. So welcome and thank you so much for coming on such short notice. And in case you're wondering why you're here, you are here because you're part of the National Science Foundation Advanced Technological Education Research Project called Backtracking CTE Pathways, which is focused on two-year IT education. And the purpose of this meeting is just to refresh everybody's memory about the project and tell you a little more about what we'll be doing the next few years. Let me just move things around here a little bit. We have a brief agenda today. We'll definitely be out of here in an hour or less. I promise you that I practice good meeting hygiene, that we will definitely keep things moving along. So we're going to start with some introductions, then we're going to have a look at what the project pieces are and the timeline. And then if you're in a partner college or you're one of our two experts and you know who you are soon enough, you're welcome to kind of step away and you are done. The PIs and the senior personnel can kind of hang around because we probably should talk about some next steps, like when we'll be meeting the next time. So TCC is what's called the targeted research focus of the project, and FSU is the supporting research partner. So Calandra, I was wondering if you would start off the introductions by introducing yourself and maybe saying a little bit about what you do.
So, hello everyone. I'm the Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs at TCC. I'm also currently serving in the role as the Acting Dean for our Business, Industry, and Technology Division, which is how I got involved in this particular grant. So I'm really excited about seeing what we do and being able to help and assist our students in any way we can.
Great, thanks. And so Calandra is going to be heading things up at TCC. Marcia Martis, I'm going to be heading things up, and we're getting folks coming into the waiting room there. And I'm going to be heading things up here at Florida State, where I'm a professor at the School of Information and the Associate Dean for Research at the College of Communication and Information. I'm also the co-director of the FSU Information Institute, so I go to a lot of meetings. And one of the things that I really like to do is the exciting research that we do at CCI. So I'm just so thrilled about this project because we envisioned this project and built these pieces over time. And so to see that it actually is culminating in this project is super exciting. And my cohort in crime, Faye Jones, why don't Faye, you take your intro.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Faye Jones, a co-PI of this project, but also institutional researcher at heart, faculty researcher at the College of Communication and Information, and also associate director for the Information Institute, where Marcia and I do all of our work together. And so this is really exciting to see all of you here today. Did you want Eve to go next, Marcia?
Oh yeah, when it comes to IT education, I want to hear from Eve.
Oh yeah.
Great. I can tell how the next 3 years are going to go. Hey, I'm Eve Brandry, Associate Dean in the College of Communication and Information. I've been working with Faye and Marcia for a while, and with Faye for, I don't know, 6-7 years, and Rick on this whole idea of backtracking and tracking our alums, which we do anecdotally, but not in any formal way. And I think this is going to be putting a lot of structure in place that will really help all of us.
Great, thanks so much. So that's our first round of introductions. Now let's go to our expert panelists, because we're also relying on the input of our two panelists, institutional research experts, Lee Wang and Rick Burnett. Lee, would you say a few words about what institutional research is and what you do? Oh, I don't think we can hear you. Let me unmute you.
I muted myself. Hi, I'm Lei Wan, the Associate Vice President for Institutional Effectiveness. So here at TCC, I'm in charge of data, of course, institutional research, assessment, and accreditation. So I'm responsible for providing data. We're not only doing data, we're doing a lot of research studies, and we partner with FSU on many, many projects. So I'm very glad to be part of this important work. Thank you.
Rick, could you say a few words about what you do at FSU?
I'm Rick Burnett, and I'm Associate Provost here at FSU, and I'm responsible for the strategic plan. I'm over institutional research, institutional effectiveness, and whatever the provost has me take on. So I've only been at FSU for 33 years, most recently, but I first lived on campus in 1960. So do the math. That's it.
All right. Well, I think we've really, I think the term expert was not used loosely here. I think it's a pretty precise description of these panelists. And then also partners. And our two-year college partners really are such an asset to this project. We're so excited. To some extent, it's getting the band back together because we have previous collaborations with everyone, and it's really glad to have those relationships sustained. So what we've asked each partner to do is to bring their IT education and their IR folks together. In some cases, it's going to be specific people. In some cases, those duties are distributed across campus. But our first partner I would like to have introduce himself is, we can just go in the order that's on the slide here, David Bovin. David.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Bovin. I serve as the Dean for the School of Business and Technology at Chipola College. And I've had a chance to work with the FSU team for a good 5 years, working on NSF research grants. And I'm excited to continue in our important work. Look forward to serving as a resource.
Great. Thanks, David. Melanie is not here today, I think not. Okay, but Darren is here, so on to you, Darren.
Hello, everybody. My name is Darren North. I'm the Assistant Department Head for Mathematics and Computer Science. And I look forward to working with you guys. I'm really excited about this.
And we also have Michael.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Johnston, and I am the Executive Director of Institutional Research at Pensacola State College. And I've heard now some definitions of institutional research at other schools. What is it here? I report to everyone. So I'm just going to reveal, if there's not one person I don't report to, I don't know if Dr. Wang can see with that, but if you would all think that something could ever belong on a spreadsheet, that's obviously our responsibility. And we have to be involved in some capacity, but we tend to be a resource, and we recognize that capacity on our campus. Personally, I'm a biostatistician, and I love everything about mathematics and modeling. On the side, I love free medicine. I've been in Pensacola for a little over 10 years, and I'm very excited to collaborate and work along with everyone.
Great, thanks. And then last but not least of our partners is the award-winning Ernie Friend.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, thank you for that introduction. Yes, I'm Ernie Friend. Been with Florida State College for about 25 years now. I manage the IT programs. I probably had a dozen or more NSF ATE grants over the years, as well as another half dozen other federal and state grants. So I'm really excited to be a part of this one, and looking forward to learning more.
Thank you so much. Okay, great. Thanks, Ernie. And then what would an NSF project be without an external evaluator? And we're really fortunate to have Will Tyson from University of South Florida working with us. And Will, would you introduce yourself and maybe say a little bit about Path Tech and a little bit about the evaluation?
Sure. So my name is Will Tyson. I'm an associate professor in the sociology department at University of South Florida. My research examines interpersonal and structural influences on STEM education and career pathways at high schools, community colleges, and four-year universities. I'm also been funded on the NSF ATE targeted research track for a while now. I'm on my third project under this kind of Path Tech umbrella. The current project, well, the previous project was Path Tech Life, which is a national survey of students in advanced technology programs, community colleges around the country. And our current project is called Path Tech Listen, standing for Longitudinal Investigations of Students in Technician Education. And basically what we are doing is interviewing students who took the survey a few years ago to learn more about their post-enrollment outcomes. So really my research is looking at tracking one way, and I'm really excited about being a part of this effort, looking at tracking from a different way. And so, you know, Marcia and Faye and I have gotten to know each other over the years from being at these different meetings and such. And, you know, I'm really happy to finally be able to participate in this work. So what I'm going to be doing as an external evaluator is kind of making sure things are going as they should, making sure that the questions that this project seeks to answer are, you know, doing that in an effective way. I obviously have plenty of experience as a researcher and kind of been called to do evaluation based on that research experience. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about what each of you all do and, you know, helping this team do the optimal work that it can do.
And we also really see Will as somebody who can be a little bit more embedded in the project too. And because he has such experience with his own research in technician education, we really feel like there's going to be some valuable insights he can give us as well. So
definitely.
You heard us talk about the ATE program. And so just for those of you who are not familiar with it, Faye and I have had a few projects. Will's had some projects. Eve's participated in some projects. And I just wanted to let everybody hear a little bit more about what a special program this is at the National Science Foundation. And it's special because it focuses on two-year institutions of higher education and education of technicians, so middle skill technicians in high technology fields that are deemed important for workforce building. And so the program involves partnerships between academic institutions, that might be K-12 schools, it might be institutions of higher education, and industry to promote improvement of these preparation programs. And so ATE supports curriculum development, professional development for college faculty and secondary school teachers. And I know Ernie's been involved in a wide range of projects, so he can probably speak to a lot of these different dimensions. And fundamental and empirical research like the work that we're going to be doing in this project. So this project, as I mentioned, is our third, and it builds on an earlier project in which we had centered our research on IT career pathways, and that project was from 2013 to 2017, and a current ATE project which focuses on advanced manufacturing. That's a partnership with Chipola College. So we're looking at the career pathways from an advanced manufacturing perspective with Chipola as a partner, but other partners, of course, include Pensacola State College and TCC. Not an AM. Yes, in the AM pathways as well. So here, what a research project is always starting off with research questions. And these are the questions. I'm not going to read them to you. You can have a look. But basically, the goals of the project are to improve the understanding of what we're calling critical junctures that lead to student retention, graduation, and in-field employment of IT students in two-year programs. And we're also hoping that we can deepen the knowledge about the instrumental nature of institutional research for evidence-based decision-making in academic affairs. And this is something of great interest to the two-year education community. And I think the reviewers are really excited about this project that kind of brings these two goals together. And then, of course, we want to strengthen the support systems for all students, but especially for underserved and at-risk prospective technicians. So when we can figure out where those critical junctures are and what those effective supports are, then we can start really distilling a set of effective practices. And finally, there's this other piece that NSF really wanted us to do, which is to discern the regional economic impacts of improved student retention, putting more people into the regional workforce who complete their degrees and go into the workforce. So that's a final goal that we're trying to achieve. We're going to be proceeding in 4 phases that will occur over 3 years. And you can see that in year 1, TCC and FSU are going to jointly develop and implement a backtracking CTE pathways approach. And so we have some good guesses from all of the previous work we've done about what this initial approach might need to look like. And we know it's going to be something that we refine and develop over time, but we're trying to just get some baseline feedback on this initial approach. And so we're going to explore TCC student transfers and IT students who intend to complete the 2-year experience using an iterative development process. And then we're going to share this approach with other college partners, and I'll get to the annual academies on the next slide because we have a skill building piece and opportunities to obtain feedback on the feasibility. And then in the second phase, we're going to look to see what the implementation of that approach really looks like, identify the barriers and challenges of the implementation, and then look at what the differences are between AA students and AS students and their experiences, and then modify that approach as needed. And then again, of course, at the conclusion of this phase, we'll be sharing it with the partners. And so phase 3 is where I think things start getting really exciting. And I don't know if Will has read this part of the proposal, so some news for you, Will. So that's really where we're going to be relying on the input of our evaluator, because his work is going to help us evaluate the feasibility of implementing the findings for the backtracking approach and looking at the financial costs, because we're going to start building that model. And then identifying anticipated barriers and challenges to broadening the approach, and generating some models that can be tailored to different kinds of student populations. And so this whole process is going to culminate with what we call an improvement plan to current campus practices and a preliminary budget for implementing the plans to increase graduation and completion rates. And finally, in the last phase, in year 3, so there are 2 phases going to occur in year 3, the evaluator, Will's going to work alongside us, the research team, to develop and use an impact evaluation and preliminary economic analysis. So we're going to be looking at those 2 things and provide that to participating institutions with meaningful feedback on graduates' economic and educational contributions. Now, how is all of that going to happen? Because we anchor each year with something called an academy. And these annual academies are the way that we have been using them in our current advanced manufacturing project, is that we spend the morning allowing sort of more stakeholders to come and hear about the work and see the progress, as well as the partners. And then in the afternoon, we focus on the skill building portion, because the type of IR practices that may be getting used in this project may be new to some people who have IR responsibilities on campus. Likewise, it may be a great opportunity for IT practitioners to be able to share how their IT curriculum is handled on their campus. So the first year, we're going to share the institutional research data that we're using and how we're analyzing it and how we're reporting it. So a little kind of crash course in visualization and analysis. I promise at the end of this project, everybody is going to be a much better spreadsheet user, because I think we're about to learn from the masters. And then we're going to do a process of inventorying the available IR data that's on your campus and set some goals for what you would like that to be if it's not quite where you want it to be. Then after the second year, we're going to develop some alumni tracking plans, and that may be through social media, and we're going to really review those initial models that we implemented. And then finally, in the culminating academy, we're going to learn how to create those models for your campus. We're going to identify the barriers and enablers that you may encounter that will influence those models, and hypothesize what that might look like and what the economic impacts might be. So rather than having you just give us data and not have any kind of reciprocity, we really want to start a discussion around institutional research and how it can help specific programs, including IT. And so I'm going to hand it over to Faye for an explanation of this beautiful graphic.
Awesome, awesome. I am so excited, everyone, because oftentimes institutional research is looked at as, you know, maybe an evaluation tool, a way for deans and department chairs to get information. And surely it's that. Surely it's ways for us to provide information for accreditation purposes and those types of things. But in this project, we use IR for knowledge generation, right? We have so much data about students, and a lot of times people try to create surveys and do other things to collect things that we already have, right? And so if you look at the backtracking approach, basically in layer one, it involves the collection of historical and quantitative student data using IR databases to identify degree completers, such as alumni in IT, investigate the academic history of students, like courses taken, courses passed or failed, GPA changes, certifications that they may have received along the way, degree completion or status, degree type, as well as information about the completers' high school entry information, like their high school GPA, test scores, dual enrollment status, and whether they were, you know, a dual enrolled student. And so layer one data includes obtaining also information about our alumni, such as their ethnicity, race, gender, along with alumni contact information, which we can then use to later get more information from those students. So we can also get information about who transferred and to where through the National Student Clearinghouse. Layer two then is facilitated by the extraction of cohort contact information in layer one, and it includes archival data from the alumni surveys that we'll conduct to explore student outcomes, such as their employment outcomes, their job title, their salary, you know, whether their job was related to their major or advanced degree seeking. And then the same cohort contact information can be used to survey the transfer students. FSU's been pretty successful now at obtaining employment information from alumni. Eve can attest to that with over a 50% response rate in the past 5 years. So we feel confident that we can use that as a model for others to follow. And layer three, then we have qualitative data, including alumni interviewing to further explain pathway decisions and how students navigated those critical junctures. Imagine now we have course grades that can let us look at failed courses, low or dropping GPAs, what happened when they changed, you know, majors, how did they feel, the transition between degree completion and employment. So this approach really allows us to create individual alumni profiles and formulate structured interviews based on informed IR-based pathway data. In other words, we know that if they failed a course and if they retook it, now we just have to ask them how they were able to navigate through that and pass those courses, and whether they use maybe tutoring help or what they actually use to get past that critical juncture. So the qualitative interviews, they'll explain or expand on the influencers that students use to successfully navigate the pathway, such as tutoring, informal engagement activities, faculty mentors, but also in-depth questioning to explore whether the influencers were institutionalized or sought outside the institution by the student. And also alumni interviews will be recorded. Of course, we'll transcribe them and use open coding and in vivo. We'll aggregate the data through in vivo and identify recurring themes, analyze those through open coding to look at quotes, influencers, critical junctures, and other relationships. So we're really excited about this project, and we hope to, and actually included some funding for Tableau. we can never purchase Tableau, but now we've been able to get some funds to have Tableau for our own college to use in particular in this project. And then of course, appropriate analysis using descriptive and inferential statistics. And I think that Marcia has a nice video that kind of wraps up how we may be able to aggregate all of this information. Marcia, I believe you're muted.
See there? Happens to everybody. So one Sunday morning, Faye and I were talking over text about this idea, and I started getting a clear sense in my head of how it maybe could be explained to somebody who didn't know anything about it. And so we made this kind of silly video, which David, Faye, and I took to the ATEPI's meeting last year, and it went over really well. So if you will indulge us for just a couple minutes, and the link is right here if you want to, for some reason, see it up close. But let's see how we go here. So this is what this might look like if you were to illustrate it. From layer 1, the institutional research and college data, we get a sense of who is entering, who is finishing. And that's my pudgy little hand. Along the way, and we get some sense of their academic progress. We get a sense of who is the high achievers and who are the low achievers. And then from layer 2, we get information about completer and alumni data. So from that, we get a sense of who is employed in field, who is employed out of field. So when we look at the results of that, we find that there are some people who are employed in field who are high achievers, some people who are employed in field but perhaps are lower achievers. There are some people who are lower achievers but they're employed below average achievers who are employed in field. Then some folks who leave the program around the midway point for whatever reason, both high achieving and low achieving. Some people who enter the program and leave perhaps because they get an industry certification or they get some other sort of employment. So students sort of distribute themselves along a scatter plot kind of structure. And then what we do for layer 3 is we take a look back over their journeys. So if you take, for example, Lisa, who we just heard about. So Lisa finished in 2 years. She's employed in field, and she's a fairly high achiever. She's got a 3.2. So I think we can say Lisa's probably this dot right here. And then we know from looking at Lisa's journey that she had 6 influencers in her second year, 2 hindrances and 1 critical juncture. So she had a pretty good year, but she had that 1 critical juncture right near the end. But she kept going. And then in her year 2, she had 2 hindrances. She, in year 1, she had 2 influencers, 1 hindrance, and 1 critical juncture. So we know that for Lisa, there were a couple of low points, but really several high points that are worth remarking about. And so if we were to chart other students, like let's say, for example, Curtis, who had a pretty easy time during the end of his studies, but it took him a little bit to really kind of get going. We know he had a little bit of a rough start, and he identified a couple of critical junctures for us. And then we'll look at another student, we'll call her Zoe. Zoe had a really good second year, but her first year was very rough. And she, in fact, left, but came back and struggled throughout her first year. And then if we continue to do these interviews and identify people's hindrances and influencers and critical junctures, if we interview to saturation, we start to identify some commonalities and some crossovers. And these are places where we can target services, where we can improve services, and where we can know that students need and benefit from support. Okay. Hey, pretty thrilling, huh? Well, that's kind of an overview of how we see it working. It's a very simplified version, but the IR complementing that with the personal retelling of the journey can be very powerful. And I think that with the students that we're going to be dealing with and enough of those journeys, some really interesting things are going to emerge. So I'm going to stop there. It's 4 o'clock. Are there any final thoughts or questions before we let everybody go on with your day?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I am completely in love with this project, which will not mean my evaluation is biased, but I am in complete love with this project. I think I mentioned to you all, maybe sometime in the proposal phase or whatnot, that I had proposed a similar project to NSF like 5-6 years ago that didn't get funded. And it's just stuck in my head since then, you know, like the one that got away. And it's so edifying to see you all doing this project that you really kind of improves a lot of the stuff that I couldn't get right in the one that I did. And I'm really excited to be a part of this because I think this is a very, very like future oriented approach to looking at doing things that we really didn't think were possible with students. And so I'm just really excited to be a part of this.
Thanks, Will. Yeah, I think it's a lot about timing and having good advocates.
Oh, yeah.
And after this project, because now we have, you know, an excellent advocate within ATE, and I think that working together, all of us can really change this conversation around IR inside of ATE, which I think is exciting too, if all goes as planned.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
ATE
6 years ago, we didn't have the same data we have now either. And so student success has been so important to our IR offices, and we moved away from being kind of these compliance reporting offices to very strategic offices. And so we're looking at data sources we never dreamed of in the past.
Definitely. Yeah, the capacity is there to do something really special. And I agree that I think ATE is very open to this type of work right now. And I think the kind of climate around student outcomes and tracking within ATE is really there for this sort of project. So I'm really excited, and thank you again for including me in this effort. I'm just really excited about it.
One part that I'm excited about, are especially excited about, are the interviews, because I love people telling their stories, and I think it helps people learn from their experiences when they retell their stories. And so one person I wanted to introduce who joined us is Denise Gomez. And Denise is probably going to be doing a lot of interviewing, but that's great because people love to talk to Denise. So I don't know, Denise, if you want to say hello. She's our research assistant on this project.
Hi, everybody. I'm looking forward to being here and to be a part of the study. It looks like a really interesting thing. And I don't know about everybody loving to talk to me, but I'm here to help. So.
Well, I know that's a fact. So, okay. Any other additional thoughts, questions? Thank you for that bit again.
Marsha, I wanted to add, because I know that Rick has a role with SARE, and it is the Southern Association for Institutional Research. Rick, can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm hoping that will also help us to provide more information to others who might seek this. And I just wanted to see if you can maybe talk a little bit about SARE and your role there.
Sure. The AIR is the parent organization. It's actually based in Tallahassee and used to be on FSU's campus. But the Association for Institutional Research and the Southern Association are in a sense both based in Tallahassee. I'm the current president, and James Hunt, who is the IR director at FSU, is also a board member. We're 2 years, I guess last year and the year before, I was a program director. And so there are opportunities here for sharing results. We also recognize people who are doing research that leverages institutional research type data. And so there, it's an area where we can find people to participate. We can find ways to share our findings. So it's a closely affiliated organization that we might be able to touch if we need to. And I think I know how to get in touch with them.
Then also to tag on that too, I'm treasurer of the Florida Association for Institutional Research. So we have a crew of about 120 members in Florida. And
so you didn't ask, but my dad convened the first meeting at FAIR and was the president the second year.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, well, I didn't either until they cleaned out somebody's office.
And that's why we call them expert panelists, not just panelists.
There you go.
Okay, well, everybody, 4:05 is when I guaranteed that we would wrap up. So if there are no further questions.
Will, one quick question.
Sure.
About how many people do you think you're going to be able to interview as part of the project?
Well, we ran those numbers, Faye, and I thought that it was on the order of, I want to say
250.
Yeah, 120 a year, something like that. It's
Okay.
a lot of interviewing.
That is a lot of interviewing, but it's glad that people are very excited to talk to Denise. That'll help.
Yeah, we just have to make sure Denise keeps sounding excited to talk to them.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
We're flagging a little bit around number 118 or so. We got to keep her strong through 120.
Calandra, any final thoughts on your side?
No, just excited and ready to get started.
This will be an adventure, and I'm so happy that all of you are along with us on it. I really appreciate it. You'll be hearing from us more soon. We've still got some kicking off to do, some situating, but we wanted everybody to have a chance to just refresh themselves about what the project contains and a chance to meet. So we'll be in touch to finalize sub-award stuff, scopes of work, that kind of thing, and with a meeting schedule, and look forward to, if nothing else, having everybody back together at our annual academy at the end of year one. Okay, well, farewell, friends. If I could get Faye to stay on, and Calandra, if you would stay on, and I think Eve, we would like you to hang out for a minute, then we'll do that. So thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great afternoon.
Nice meeting everyone.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Good to meet you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was quick.